So, David, Dr. Gupta just pointed to something that's incredibly important and always present, ever present in our situation today in this country, and it's the fear factor. The president promotes fear in nearly everything he does, and he is, especially through ignorance and incompetence,
they keep talking about
has injected fear
yeah.
into the health system.
And our reporting suggests that there was not universal testing of everybody who was invited to this event, and to have so many elderly veterans or otherwise elderly people in this audience not sitting socially distanced, the vast majority of them not wearing any masks, for this to go on for a very long time, including a lot of chanting and shouting. I feel concern for what's happening here, especially after what happened at the Tulsa rally and at other Trump events when there's over 180,000 Americans dead, and maybe you feel good about that number. Maybe you feel like that's success, but over 180,000 American families have been destroyed by the loss.
You can look at it as natural selection, killing off the weak people. In that case, then yes, there is some progress involved.
We'll just accept that reality. But meanwhile, as Rachel just said, the actual humans standing in front of them or sitting in front of them applauding are in danger of dying from COVID now.
Elderly.
And they don't care.
Concerned.
It's bizarre. And the one last thing, not to sound like a broken record, as I mentioned last night, I am a bit...
Repeated agenda, you just
said
it.
This misuse of the resources that don't belong to them.
If you want me to believe you about coronavirus, then you should stop fear-mongering. Until you stop fear-mongering, I will not trust you.
When you look at the numbers, the scale of those new outbreaks in these other countries is just of a different order of magnitude.
Yeah, why is there such a disparity?
No rich country that looks like the United States right now in terms of the scale of the virus, the scale of death,
lying about
and
there being
the
a disparity?
amount of chaos that it's sowing in terms of our normal daily functioning.
Just look at the disparity with China and how those numbers were manipulated. If you actually questioned the statistics of China, the numbers they're putting out, then there wouldn't be a disparity. Side note, I think it's actually in China's best interest to not let Trump get reelected, because he's usually the one who's harder on China than anybody else, really, that I've seen. Any of the past presidents. Although, I feel like that's kind of changing. Now, does that mean that anybody who goes against Trump supports China? It's kind of hard to say.
He was in an argument with a guy on Facebook, or several people on Facebook, who told him he wasn't a real doctor, that the hospitals were empty. And he said, I have 200 people in my ICU. This is happening. And then he went outside and he heard the cheer at 7 o'clock that we all hear every day in New York City. And he just broke down and cried because he didn't know what reality was at this point. He just didn't know. He had no
Why
idea.
do you think people don't trust?
And that's the larger problem here, is that we have this...
It's their fault.
We have these systems set up that reward these bad guys.
This is actually something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I don't trust the medical system for a similar reason to why I don't trust psychology. Because psychology is just kind of philosophy, but with a more prescription attitude to everything. They try to apply like a solution to every problem, but it isn't always that simple.
A lot of the time in artistic spaces, I've found that people who are on the other side of the aisle feel totally comfortable sharing their liberal views, which, hey, if you want to share your views, that's totally fine.
I don't think either side is safe from it. People are still going to label you and try to devalue your opinion with those labels. That's gatekeeping.
For so long, it's felt like conservative women have really had to keep all of their thoughts under wraps so that they don't get in trouble from their bosses, their friends, or their teachers. And I think conservative women, in some ways,
if you want to be comfortable with voicing your opinions, don't associate with a party, because parties promote self-censorship and force their set of beliefs on you. Beliefs that don't exactly match up with any one person.
But I have agreed to abide by certain restrictions.
Well, my conservative views come prior to everything else. Everything that I talk
What?
about, everything that I believe in, everything that I choose to wear, or even the makeup that I put on, it comes from a conservative and classic perspective.
Did you just
When
say
I
the
say
party
let's be
comes
classic,
before
to me,
anything
that's a
else?
lifestyle.
Restrictions.
28 million people have filed for unemployment. Those at the top are seeing things go up,
Yeah.
and those in the middle and below are seeing things go down and get worse.
Yeah.
And what the hell makes you think that?
It's no surprise because at root of this is the fact that Trump has mismanaged the COVID crisis.
I mean, probably, but that's not the cause of unemployment. The cause of unemployment and the economic problems is the lockdown.
You can't have an economic comeback when almost 1,000 Americans die each day from COVID, when the death toll has reached
That's
about
kinda backwards,
200,000.
actually. Yes, you can. It's just about making the choice. You chose lockdown, and look what it brought us. Look what it did to the economy. Not that I wish to imply that you have free will, that you, in particular, Joe Biden, can make a choice. It's my belief that the party picked your vice president. I don't think they give you a choice.
It's worth repeating, more Americans have died from COVID-19 during the 4 days of this Republican convention than the number of Americans killed on 9/11.
Don't compare coronavirus to 9/11, because 9/11 was murder, but coronavirus is natural selection.
Also, about 5 out of 10 scenes contained verbal aggression, which then primarily was defined as name-calling, where the most common names that were used were bitch and slut. Most of the people that were exposed
People
to
actually
this
like that
aggression
stuff?
were women. And what was their typical response to this aggression, you think? Almost everyone reacted either positive or neutral, almost never negative.
Anime is worse, though.
Let's
Go
apply
complain to
this to
them.
everyday life. Research proves a strong link between porn consumption and acting out sexually aggressive acts like sexual assault. And here's the
So, you make it sound like we have to blame the viewers, but why not blame the system? Why aren't you saying the industry has to change and not the viewers?
My favorite sitcom of all times is Friends. What was it about porn back then that made Joey and Chandler want to keep their TV showing porn on? And what is it about today's mainstream?
Who says a show's depiction about reality is a correct depiction, though?
To many nowadays, porn is the #1 teacher on sex education.
So what you're saying is it's a competitor to the education system. If that's the case, then wouldn't the competition force the education system to do better than it is?
On how to talk to your kid about porn. Well, he said, first you gotta make sure that the conversation you're having is happening while driving your car.
Why?
Okay? So you're driving and your kid is next to you. First, you don't have to look straight at each other, so that helps, right? And second, he goes and he almost like whispered and he says, your kid can't go anywhere.
Are you really living a life if you are not free? You are alive, but you're only living a half-life.
Making this video really hurt my legs because of high blood pressure. So why do I keep coming back? Well,
there's nothing more delightful as a composer than writing for a great downward spiral.
Stay